All right, this is Patrick Rogers, and today we have the privilege to have Rob Feiler on the show. And Rob is the CEO of Max Warehouse. Welcome to the show, Rob.
Thanks, Patrick. Great to be here.
Awesome. So again, Rob is the CEO of Max Warehouse and founder of Next Gen Retailing. We're going to get into both of those projects. And Rob's experiences span the Fortune 100 telecom industry through private equity held telecom construction in the C-suite. Rob recently has been on a journey of turnaround success in the hardware retailing space, both in brick and mortar as well as in e-commerce, the kind of the wave of the future, right? And Rob has taught at the university level for 20 years and serves on several medium-sized business boards of advisors and boards of directors. So again, Rob, great to have you. Before we get into your projects and your journey, what is one interesting fact about you that not many people know?
Many years ago, 1985, I played college basketball for a Division III school in New York.
Oh.
And in 1985, St. John's and Georgetown were fighting for number 1 and number 2 in the country. And my school renewed our rivalry with NYU. And we got to play the game at the Garden before the 1-versus-2 game between St. John's and Georgetown. And that would be Chris Mullen against Patrick Ewing. And
oh,
in a
wow.
sold-out Garden. And it was the only time in my collegiate career where the tickets to one of my games actually had some value.
But hey, it's there. It's a check in the box. It's a real thing.
Yeah. So I got to play on the Garden floor, and years later at a corporate event, a 3-on-3 event, I got to play on the Garden floor there. But my team shared the locker room with the St. John's Club. And so it was pretty cool brushing shoulders with those guys. I had met up with Mullen a couple of times in some summer league basketball, and he was player of the year, and I was the non-scholarship basketball player in college.
You were the walk-on. There's a lot to be said for that too. The walk-on guys who are not coming from the scholarship, they have to work so much harder. And I think personally, I mean, mentally, to be able to step it up to get to that level, it takes a lot.
No, and it's the journey, it's the process, and there's lots of lessons learned, as you are in situations where you're trying to grow, either in sports or early in your career, and some in part-time jobs and things that people do as they're building themselves.
Gotcha. Yeah. So awesome. So thanks for sharing that with us. Tell us about your company, Max Warehouse and Next Gen Retailing.
Max Warehouse is one of the largest e-commerce players in the hardware retailing space. Number 1 buyer of products from the co-op Ace Hardware. Close to $100 million business.
Wow.
MaxWarehouse.com is our own site, but we integrate with a dozen other marketplaces. And many of these consumer-based companies like Macy's.
Right.
Macy's started this past year their own e-commerce platform. So Macy's on their own e-commerce platform will look for other suppliers of products or other folks who are integrated with suppliers to join them. So Macy's is one of those marketplaces that we integrated with. So we're a third-party seller. We sell other people's inventory. We will take our own inventory at times. The company has grown from nothing in 10 years to $100 million business. We have about 75 associates who have driven the success of the company. And we've built some amazing programs around our employee base, which we all view as the most important asset we have.
Yeah, fantastic.
And Next Gen Retailing is a project I've been working on, which ties into a book I'm writing around engagement and what's happening in retailing right now, and when is a transaction not a transaction, and how does it become an engagement? When does a transaction have meaning, and it's more personal? When I bought my first home, there was a little hardware store down the street, and I went in there and got a lot of guidance and a lot of help from some very experienced gentlemen behind the counter. And it was kind of embarrassing as an electrical engineer. I didn't really understand how to wire the electrical switch in my garage, but they helped me through it. It was a personal experience.
Yeah.
And they were not, it was for them and the family running that business, who I still talk to and I'm great friends with today. It was about engaging with their customer at their level, engaging with the community and doing things to stay sticky in that community. So I think as business has migrated from brick and mortar to e-commerce, we've lost some of that relationship-based stickiness, and now there's another level of growth. Uh, Marketing has gone from print circulars to digital marketing to
Right.
social media
Sure.
marketing to content
Yeah.
generation, and there's a piece there that's about telling the story. And how does a company, a founder, a small business, a medium-sized business, even a large business, continue to tell their story? And that story is what will get somebody to drive an extra 5 or 10 minutes or pay an extra dollar for an interaction that has meaning to them.
Yeah.
So that's what I've been focused on in the businesses that I've ran over the past several years. And as I talk to business owners from around the country, through various groups that I'm involved with, that's where I see a little bit of a void. Most business owners who started from nothing are humble, amazing people.
Yeah.
They don't like or they're reluctant to tell their story too much, especially if it's one of success, because in their eyes, it may come across the wrong way. And I'll tell my relationships that don't be ashamed to tell your story of success. It's an amazing story. You've impacted thousands and thousands of lives directly and families directly, and thousands more indirectly. And there's nothing that you should be prouder to say than that. It won't come across braggadocious. It won't come across like your chest beating. It'll just come across for what it is. And that story not only drives good business, but it drives employee retention. It ensures great recruiting activity. I was involved with a local hardware retailer a few years back called Costello's Ace Hardware in New York.
Okay.
And I was involved with a non-for-profit on Long Island at the time, an organization called Family Residences, and I helped them out a lot. And one of the mid level managers at Family Residences wanted to place their daughter in a safe place as the first job.
Right.
And they came to me and said, "Hey, do you think you can help us place my daughter at Costello's? There's one right down the street from where we live.
Sure.
We'd love to have her in that environment where she can learn and have a great first job experience." And, it's things like that in community-based organizations that it's super relevant and it makes you feel really good about what you're doing. And those are the stories that the owners and the founders should be telling.
So really supporting the community that they don't even really think about is important to clients or customers or prospects. And so that's kind of the whole concept behind what you're doing at NGR, right? Is helping them develop their brand, develop their story, dig deep onto what they're doing and bring those stories out and help them tell it. And it reflects more well with the community.
Yeah. And in addition to that, looking at their business, not just through the lens of a brick and mortar retailer, but understanding that building relationships in the community and connecting the dots on business opportunities will help them grow their business. I've helped hardware retailers apply some of the concepts I learned in telecom for their sales channels, sales channel management, customer segmentation, channel partners, door-to-door business door knocking, things that the cable operators or the phone companies have kind of morphed into over the years because their environment got super competitive as well. So, I've told hardware store managers, I've walked into their store, I said, come on, let's take a walk down the street and see how many businesses we can meet. Because I bet you they can use a lot of the products that you have. And I've had store managers tell me, Rob, I really can't leave my office right now. I can't leave the building. I can't leave the store. I said, well, why not? He goes, well, who's going to run the store? I need to be here. And I would look around the store and I would see maybe one or two customers. And I would say, trust me, the store is going to be fine. Let's go try and find another one or two customers and bring them back and show them what this amazing place is that you have. So
yeah, that's awesome. That's
yeah.
awesome. And that's a pretty new venture for you, right? The NGR.
Yeah, it's pretty new. It's something that I've been noodling on for a while. And NGR will be more of the the sales, not the sales, the training aspects, leadership training, and some of the other community-based programs we were talking about. But I really want to leverage that word engagement. It's going to be the basis of my book. I've been thinking about starting up another little venture and just calling it simply Engage.
Engage. So when you say the word engagement, right? If you look out in corporate America, engagement's all over the place, and usually typically people are either talking about it in terms of employee engagement or customer engagement. And for you specifically, which is it, or is it both?
Yeah, it's both and it's more. So yes, customer engagement, net promoter scores, surveys,
yes,
customer feedback, critical building blocks have to be very strong there. Employee engagement, internal surveys, getting feedback from your teammates around you, hearing from the front lines, super important. But when I look at engagement, it's probably that third dimension. It's the other piece of engagement that sometimes gets missed, or sometimes businesses don't have the time for. Is your senior staff engaged with the community around them? Are they participating in the community around them? Is your business telling your story in a way that resonates with your customer base and your prospect base? What is your why? What is your purpose? What drives you? What drives your teammates? And what makes you relative in your community? Businesses that have failed, they lost relevance. You can call out some of the logos as well as I can, and we don't need to bring them up on this call.
Sure, yeah.
But you could say their business model was outdated. You could say they weren't strategic. You could say they were not led properly. They made poor decisions, whatever it is. But the bottom line is they lost relevance. And that logo didn't mean as much to the community that they were trying to serve.
Yeah.
So engagement to me is staying relevant. Engagement is being creative about getting out there in the community and telling your story. And for many people, it's not in their DNA to do that. And it's not a skill they feel comfortable with. And it's something that can be taught.
Yeah, no, I love that. And it's, as a business consultant, that's one of the first things, sounds like you and I are coming from common threads here, is that we have to know where we are. First of all, we have to know what do our employees think of us? How engaged are they? We have to know what do our customers think of us? And when they do those measurements, it's very eye-opening. It's never what they thought. Never, ever once has it ever been what I saw. And I love what you're saying about, understand what your why is. Make sure that your why is rooted to the community, and not only you, if what you're saying is train your staff, your leaders and your managers to make sure, the right people, whoever's interacting, to make sure they're telling your story correct in accordance with your why.
Exactly. Have enough rituals put in place. A lot of companies do a great job with orientation, and a lot of companies, smaller companies, the founder will be involved, the CEO will be involved. I know that I meet every new member of my team. I spend 15 minutes on a Zoom call if we're not in the same locale. And I'm not asking about their resume. I'm not asking about their prior job experiences. I want to know about their family. I want to know what their loves and their passions are. I want to know what drives them. I want to know where they want to be in 5 years so I can help facilitate that. And that's really important. So
Yeah, fantastic. I love that. I love where you're going with NGR. So tell us about Max Warehouse. I know you've been very successful at that company on really transitioning culture and really you created a lot of growth development for people. And so tell us more about your journey there.
yeah, a never-ending journey.
Never ending journey. Yeah.
Never ending. There's always new ways of doing more for your folks and your team, and I think that's the bottom line. It's that servant leadership model that says, you as the CEO or senior leader, you work for everybody in the organization. And when I took over the program, the culture was strong. There were some good training programs.
Yeah.
It just probably needed to be formalized a little bit. We
Mhm.
created Max Academy. It was our own university type site where all the trainings that were being done were being recorded, placed on the site by
Perfect. Love it.
genre,
Yeah.
by type of segment,
Yeah.
by either technical training or management training or customer service training. So we had a really strong internal site. Um, I felt like I needed to call our program something. Uh,
Mhm.
and so myself and our HR leader came up with the word blossom
Blossom.
and blossom. And all of our annual discussions, monthly discussions, feedbacks, whether it be looking at core competencies, pure performance, matchups against KPIs, training programs, was all a blossom discussion. And we had a little logo, which was, a seed blossoming into something out of the ground.
Okay, got it. Yeah.
And that was the essence of it. I didn't want to just have another, hey, oh, Rob's going to sit down with me and take me through my KPIs and tell me how well I'm doing and where I'm hitting the mark
Yeah.
and where I'm not.
Yeah.
You
Right.
know,
Right. The
you
same
have to
old.
be, yeah, you have to be results based, but you know, you gotta, the employees and the teammates is what gets the company where the company needs to go. So if you're developing those and growing that capacity, and
Sure.
it can only make you better, and it really helps like heck with retention and attraction of quality people.
Yeah, it's so true there. Having a strong onboarding program. So I think there's some stats like 40% of employees that do leave, they leave within like 6 months or something. It's something like that. And a lot of it has to do obviously with the manager, but a lot of it has to do with having a poor onboarding program.
Right, right. Yeah, and hearing from people on a regular basis. And again, folks get tied into running the day-to-day business.
Right. They're in the whirlwind.
You have to take the time out. You have to
Mm,
be creative.
mm.
During pandemic, we did a lot of virtual coffee sessions where, I would have once a month, 8 to 10 people in a virtual room, all
Okay.
drinking real coffee.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we would have a little package sent to their home, with some breakfast item, and we would just talk
Yeah.
for, half an hour, 45 minutes, sometimes even an hour. Non-pandemic, we're actually sitting around the table together, having
Yeah.
coffee and, eggs and, just talking about the business. And, you know, people tend to be quiet early on in those discussions until they really understand what it's all about. And then it just, the floodgates open with ideas, spirit.
Right.
It's just an
Yeah.
amazing feeling when you're around people at that level.
So is your e-commerce company then, is it all remote and you guys have a location that you get together every once in a while, or hybrid, or how do you guys do that?
Yeah, so early on, we were able to cram into an office, um, and we grew so much throughout the pandemic that we couldn't
Yeah.
cram into that same office anymore.
Wow.
But the feedback was overwhelming from the staff.
Yeah.
And I'm really not missing my commute, 90 minutes each way.
Ah, yeah.
Thank you very much.
Who
I feel
is,
like
right?
I'm way more productive at home. In fact, I'm probably working more now at home than I was, because it's easier. I'm
Right.
able to get up and so that's great. Don't work too much, make sure that, you're keeping things good at home, but thank you for everything. And, we still have offices and conference rooms to go to.
If you need them,
And
sure.
we
Yeah.
pick our spots to collab. The face-to-face collaboration, you can't put a premium on it. It's amazing what happens when people are together. But you can pick your spots with that. And,
Yeah. So is your team in one geographic location then?
we have folks throughout the country, and
Okay.
we have some international folks as well. We have people down in Guatemala City. We have a marketing person in Milan, Italy. We have some programmers down in Venezuela. We have some executive staff in Miami. We have warehousing staff in California. And yeah, it's a collection. But the beauty about having a remote workforce is,
Mm,
when you're looking for a talent, um, it opens up the doors to a much broader search, knowing that
sure.
you
Right.
can
The
sit
world is
anywhere you
flat
want.
now. Yeah,
Yes,
totally. Totally.
exactly. Yeah.
Awesome. So you had kind of said one of the things that you're most proud of as CEO is driving this people/team first culture at your companies. And we kind of talked a little bit about the onboarding program and then focusing on employee engagement. What are some of the other things that you have implemented to really drive that people team first culture?
It's frequent conversations. It's really getting to know people on a one-on-one basis. It's giving them, challenging them to grow, challenging them to take on assignments within the company that may be normally outside of their sweet spot. It's leading by example, and showing my executive team what it
Yeah.
means like to get out there and be with people. Um, back in the pandemic, I was involved early on with Ace Hardware. And as a senior leader, I was unloading trucks. We were just trying to keep the doors open, and I was out making
Mm,
deliveries, and
right.
and it was great. I was in a delivery van on Long Island, and I felt like the ice cream man. People were coming out of their houses like, "Hey, do you have any mulch on that truck?" I said, "Yeah, call the store. I'll be right back with it. Tell me where you want it. I'll put it exactly where you want it to be."
Yeah.
So I think you have to lead from out front as a leader. They have to know that you're there to serve them, and there's got to be an environment of trust and transparency where anything can be said, and a candid conversation is acceptable as long as it stays respectable.
So do you find that challenging with a kind of a remote culture? How do you do that when majority of your workforce is remote?
You have a lot of rituals. You have TGI, you have TGIF Zoom meetings every week where you
Okay.
have the entire company on a call, and you're just talking about some of the successes for the week. You
Yeah.
have a monthly newsletter where you have various departments contributing to a newsletter every month, and there's a message from the CEO. And then there's a whole section just about family where people are announcing birthdays and births and weddings and everything that's going on in the company. Um,
Kind of
you know,
reminding them this isn't just a transactional organization. We are real people with real feelings and
yeah,
families, just like you. And
absolutely, absolutely. Creating those impromptu things that
yeah,
happen when you're in an office where, you and I just stumble upon each other when we're
the
making a
water
cup of
cooler or whatever.
coffee, and
Yeah, yeah.
Patrick, how's the family? How's everybody doing? Oh
Right.
yeah, my kids just started T-ball, and oh yeah, let me see a picture. And that means a lot. And it means a lot, especially when you're in the trenches and you're battling through a problem, so to speak, and you have a different feeling for somebody. It's not so transactional, it's more
Yeah.
relationship based.
So TGIF Zoom call, is that something your whole company gets on, or what occurs during it?
Yeah, it's something I inherited. It was something that they had come up with, and it's light, it's fun, it's
Yeah.
rah-rah. There's a lot of yelling and hooting and hollering and
Oh my
screaming.
gosh, that sounds
And
really cool.
yeah, and it's in multiple languages at times.
Oh wow, like
It's
one
great.
call with everybody on the team.
Yeah, the whole team. I don't know how you do that with a 1,000-person organization. You might have to break it down into
Groups or
more
something.
parts,
Yeah.
but it's a lot of fun. And seeing 60, 70 faces on the call is pretty cool. And they all get a chance to participate. And every week there's different presenters, and people are just saying, "Hey, let me tell you what happened in the Amazon sales department this week. Hey, let me tell you what happened in the warehouse this week. Let me tell you what happened in finance this week."
Okay,
And
cool.
yeah,
So
it's really
so
cool.
it's a very casual, nonchalant update. Do people like raise their hand and say, "Hey, I have something to share," or is it like it changes every week? There's like 5 people this week, 5 people next week.
Yeah, it's different people every week. There's an agenda that's set prior to. My HR leader kind of works with the departments and sets that up. On Halloween, everybody will dress up in costumes.
Ah, that's
Around
cool.
different holidays. There's sometimes there's games being played. There's a virtual roulette wheel with different prizes on it, and there's trivia contests, and yeah, it's fun. It's
That's
different every week.
cool.
Yeah.
I mean, look, that's where we're going, right? That's where we're going more and more to remotes, and more companies are finding out that they're more efficient in remote, and many companies that had this huge expense of rent, they're just hey, we don't have to do that. We can actually go maybe more towards hybrid or something. But what else do you do? It sounds like you guys have some really cool things in place. So you talked about the monthly newsletter, TJF Zoom call. Is there anything else that you guys do to
Yeah,
foster that remote environment?
we have a lot of different chats set up. We use WhatsApp for different chats. So we have a
Okay.
company chat, departmental chat. We're a Microsoft shop, so we use Teams for a lot of chatting
Yeah.
within
Yeah.
departments that way.
Yeah.
Um,
Very cool.
we do an annual kickoff where we get everybody together. We do a year-end party. I do breakfast once a month with 8 to 12 different team members. Some of my leaders do the same thing. One of my sales leaders will have people at his house once in a while for a Friday hot dogs and hamburgers while they're planning next week. So rather than go to a conference room, people
Yeah.
will use their
Casual.
backyard. And listen, you got to make sure everybody's doing the right thing, and nobody's cracking open Budweisers. But as long as everybody is acting responsible and doing it the right way, I think it's great. I encourage as much communication and relationship building as possible. It makes not every some people are uncomfortable with it,
Yeah.
and even for myself, I always prided myself in being the first one in the office as a young person
Mm,
joining the workforce. And to me, there was, I got there before the general manager did there, and it probably annoyed him a little bit that I was there at 7 a.m. and he used to be the first one there at 7:15.
yeah.
But there's other ways of doing that
Yeah.
remotely. There's
Yeah.
other ways of displaying your work ethic and displaying your creativity. It's not always who beats the traffic or who gets to the office first, but
Yeah.
there are a lot of people who have lived in that environment, and it's really tough for them to understand. And number one question I may get asked from my board is, Rob, how can you assure that there's productivity? And, the answer is in the results.
Sure.
And if
Sure.
the
Yeah.
results aren't there, I'm accountable for the results as the CEO. And you got to trust people to do the right thing, and you kind of know who's moving the needle for you and who's not.
Yeah. And I think you said too that not only creating this people first culture, right? It really helps increase that productivity because a happy employee is going to, make for a happy client, and they want to give better service and more efficient. They're just more productive all around. But you also said that focusing on that you've seen an uptick in your ability to attract good talent as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Because a lot of good talent comes through referrals. uh, or
Mm,
or people are smart and they'll do their due diligence on a company and they'll say, hey, let me call somebody at this company, or let's see who I know on LinkedIn. Hey, Patrick, I see you're working at Max Warehouse.
how's that going?
What's it like there? What's the
Yeah,
culture like? Are
yeah,
they
yeah.
micromanaging your every move? Do you have to be
Right, right.
dialed in and clocked in? Are they counting your keystrokes and and all of that? Or so I think that has a lot to do with it. And word travels fast about the culture. And we try and talk about the culture a lot. I'll try and post a lot about what we're doing at the company, and what kind of environment that we've created and continue to develop. And culture is one of those things where you don't bring in the culture coach or the culture secret sauce and sprinkle
Yeah.
some on, and now you have a great culture. You have to continuously monitor,
No,
be
you do. Yeah,
cognizant, work on it.
absolutely. Yeah.
It's got to be part of your business plan. It really does.
Yeah, it's got to be part of not only the business plan, but you got to make it part of who people are, part of their subconscious, their operating system almost.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Now, not only remote work and hybrid work, a lot of companies are going to 4-day work weeks now. And there's been a lot of early success in what I've been reading on that. And again, when there's a competition for great talent, uh,
Yeah,
those types of things mean something. I spoke to a
absolutely.
CEO founder last week, and he has unlimited time off.
Yes, I've actually had a number of people on the show, a number of CEOs, and they have that unlimited time off, no working hours.
Yeah.
It's results oriented.
Mhm.
But that also means, you got to have your shit together, man. You got to have your metrics, you got to have your KPIs, have people aligned with your why, and
Yeah.
everything else,
Yeah. No, absolutely. And
which is good.
it, it creates different kind of pressure, right? All right, now I can take 5 weeks off if I want to. I don't have to worry about accumulating time for that trip down to see my friends in Florida or whatever.
Right?
But I have to have my stuff together.
You got to
I can't,
perform.
I can't just not be around and not perform. It's a
But I
double
think
edged
it's
sword.
it's a
Yeah.
very valuable discussion because, right? I mean, post pandemic, millennials, I spout these, there's a certain number of stats, but 88% of millennials would rather work for a company where they're aligned with a purpose that's solving some of the major problems of the human race. And people are like you said, how important it is to come up with their why. Man, it's just so important to align with having that purpose.
Yeah, yeah. No, I totally agree. I I have a friend who has a very successful advertising agency,
Mm,
and been around for 43 years,
mm,
and has served many, many companies throughout their lifespan,
mhm,
but have worked mainly off of the referral business for
mm.
years. And I said to him, I said, "Hey, I was just on your website, right?"
Yeah,
I said,
right,
first
right.
I say, "Hey, we're good, right? You could
Yeah,
tell me anything and I could say anything
yeah,
to you.
yeah.
We're brothers, we're good, right?" "Oh yeah, of course, Rob." I said, "Well, you're the contractor." Now my dad was a contractor. I said, "You're the contractor who makes everybody's homes look as beautiful as possible,
Right.
and you live in a shack."
Yeah.
I said, "You're not telling your story, man. You have an amazing story. You've impacted so many businesses and so many lives in the last 42 years.
Yeah,
You don't say that on your site.
yeah,
I
yeah.
know some of your people, they're not saying it to people."
Right, right.
And
Back to that story. Back to the living your
yeah,
message.
he
Yeah.
he thought about it a bit and he said, "You know what? You're right. You're right." And so
Yeah.
they're working through a whole rebrand
Right.
of
Got it.
who they are, and
Yeah.
how they can resonate in the communities they serve.
But yeah, man, I love that because I really feel in today's day and age, once you nail that down, you really start attracting people that are like-minded, and good people, right? And people that are passionate about what they do, they stay with you.
Yeah.
They're more engaged, your keyword there. So Awesome, man. These are great nuggets. Great concepts here. Great leadership concepts. So let me ask you, Rob, if you're going to hire a CEO to take the reins for your company, what's the one book that you would require he or she read before taking over for you?
I read a book maybe a year ago, maybe it's less.
Uh-huh.
Hubert Jolly.
Yeah.
I might be pronouncing his name wrong. Hubert, I apologize.
Yeah,
Um,
right. Hey, if you're listening to
we're-
this, sorry for slaughtering your name, dude.
and we're on LinkedIn together, and I like his
Oh,
stuff, I like
okay.
myself,
Yeah.
but
So you might hear. Yeah.
I've never actually spoken to him in person
Mm,
or on a call.
yeah.
Uh, he's teaching now in Harvard Business School. He's a former CEO of Best Buy, and he wrote a
Oh,
book called
wow.
The Heart of Business.
Okay.
And he really had a turnaround job at Best Buy, and he was recruited pretty heavily to come in there.
Yeah.
And he was reluctant to come in there because Best Buy was really struggling.
Right.
And it was Amazon was starting to make a name for themselves, and
Yeah.
they started losing to e-commerce businesses. But he got talked into the challenge of taking the opportunity,
Uh-huh.
and he went in there and he just listened, and he
Yeah.
spoke to the front line,
So powerful.
and
Yeah.
he went to stores, and he heard people's stories, and he saw an amazing culture that was being, kind of, I would say, like, tamped down, or it wasn't being allowed to. And he really refocused the company, and he used a lot of love, a lot of
Mm,
heart, a
mm,
lot of kindness, uh, nothing hard charging about it, very subtle. He empowered people. He decentralized the business to a large degree. He made some amazing business deals and business models by bringing in, creating stores within the store concept at Best Buy, and, you
right.
know, bringing Apple in, for
Bring in
example.
Apple and yeah, all
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
They got rid of, the miles and miles of DVDs, and, started focusing on, businesses that, and they wanted to be the technology, they wanted to serve up technology to their customers in a way that worked for their customers. That didn't work for them.
Mm,
Very powerful. Listening to your customer base, um, and
very
making the
cool.
adjustments for what they're saying
Yeah.
and what your employees are saying. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that, and that's so. It resonates me because this is the same line that we really take in our clients and helping consulting is leading with that love and joy and compassion, and really feel like America and the worldwide is more and more going towards that. The most successful businesses out there, the most successful CEOs are going to be leading with compassion, which is totally opposite, not opposite, but it's just not what it was 25 years ago. The business world is going more towards that, and people are being attracted to that.
Absolutely. Back to
Yeah,
my opening story, when I was a
right.
young kid playing basketball in New York City, or baseball, those were my two sports. The coaches got you to run faster and jump higher by
Yeah.
kind of being in your face.
Uh-huh. That's what. Yeah. Absolutely.
And a very different model now. And I think in business it was the same way. It was command and control. It was,
Right.
hands on the
Yep.
desk.
Yep.
It was like,
Fear-based. I mean,
yeah, and
literally what it was.
right. And you can get somebody to run fast for a short period of time, doing that, but you'll never win the marathon. And
Yeah. The one sprint, but not the marathon. Love it.
that's right.
Yeah. Cool, man. Well, I got that book ordered. It's not going to be here for a bit. It was on back order, but I'm excited to read it. So thanks for that referral.
Yeah.
I just want to take a few minutes and summarize some of my key takeaways. One is really recommend CEOs get out there and tell their story. Really learn, dig deep with your team on how are we really impacting the community? How are we connecting with them? And then be okay with, be humble, but share that. Get your story out there, and that will actually help you with branding and connection and business and attraction of the right people, right? And the other thing you talked about was how important it is to measure. First of all, measure your engagement. Know where you're at. Know your net promoter score, your employee net promoter score, customer internal survey, customer surveys. But then even more so, that third dimension, as you call it, of engagement is your senior staff. How engaged are they in your community, and are they telling your why? Reestablish your relevance. Two more things I thought was fantastic was the importance of your onboarding program. You guys actually built a university where you have videos, online demand things, which comes to scaling, amazingly improved efficiency for scaling. But then also they have somewhere they can go back to when they have questions, and so onboarding becomes something it's like a level up. So I love that. And some of the things that I thought was fantastic that you shared about your success in driving this people team first culture is really challenging people to grow, and then being a servant leader by showing your leadership team what it means to get out there, stand next to your team, and be in front of them. Monthly newsletters, this TGIF Zoom call, that's really cool. That's hey, this is just a rah, totally informal. How did the week go? What's going good? What could be better? Whatever. I think that's really cool. So you're doing all these things to really bring your remote sales team or your remote team together. And then also all of that culture will bring you the best of the best in the industry. So, man, a great episode, great stuff, man. So if there was one takeaway, Rob, that you would really want the audience to absorb, what would that be?
Don't be afraid to fail.
Yeah.
Fail fast, try things out, and there's infinite opportunities out there. You just really need to kind of look outside and be encouraged to bring somebody in from the outside, somebody that you trust, and somebody who can kind of look at the business and look you in the eye and say, hey, have you thought about this? Or how come you're not doing this? Or have an open mind. So I gave you much more than one thing.
No, it's good, man. It's good.
But think big. Think big. Don't be satisfied with incremental success.
Yeah, I think there was just to build on that, there was I forget who did the study, but it was like 8 out of the 10 most successful CEOs take big and bold action early on in their tenure. Like as soon as they take over, within a year, they're making some big and bold decisions and changes, strategies, whatever. And it's the people that don't do it, they try to do it later on. It's you get in right away. So yeah, Rob, again, thanks for being on the show. If any of our listeners want to reach out and get a hold of you for any questions, either regarding Max Warehouse or NGR or just any leadership, how could they do that?
My cell phone is the best way. Sorry, Carol, it's my wife.
Are you sure you want to give that out, or we could do